Yeah, there you go.
All right, John, we are live. Thank you so much for taking out some time for this.
Yeah, no problem. I'm
So, yeah,
always in.
man, let's talk about Ouija Shark too. Let's talk about you had a small role in the first one. How did you end up writing, directing, and starring in the second one? How did that all come about?
Well, the first one I co-wrote. I
Right,
added
right,
scenes to the addition to the original script,
right.
and the scenes that I was in turned out to be, popular enough that there was interest in the character, and I think in particular, Japanese audiences really embraced the character and probably did a lot to make that all happen, which is great. I
Sure.
appreciate all of that from them. And then Wild Eye contacted me and asked me to do it. And, I was excited to do so.
That's cool, man. I love it. So, let's talk about the campiness in the movie. Did you try to kind of turn it up to 11 for this sequel? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I I wanted it to be as entertaining as I could possibly make it on a micro budget. I knew that, obviously there are huge limitations making a movie for so little money. So, you do everything you can to make it as fun and entertaining, especially people who get these kind of movies, who love watching, cheesy micro budget horror. You know, you know who your audience is, and it's good to play to your audience and give them kind of what they would like to see.
Yeah. I gotta admit, I watched it. I had fun. I thought it was a hoot, man. And let's talk let's talk about the musical number. I really didn't see that coming. And you got me there. I almost lost my mind. I was like, all
When
right, we got a musical number. Throw it in there. I feel it.
when I wrote that, I had this feeling. I kept it really short in the script because it didn't work out to everything it was until we had the music by Mike Treblecock. But once I had it in my head, and then later, once I saw it edited together, I said, this is that bridge too far moment where you're either in all the way or you're going to say, oh, hell no, and walk right out of the movie, right? So that's kind of how I designed that scene to be the if you're in now, then you're ready for everything else that's coming.
That was the hook for me, man. Once I saw that, I'm like, I got to see what they do next. This is insane. I love it. So,
Right.
so let's talk about what made you kind of bring in that whole magical aspect. Sort of like Doctor Strange. It had like the mystical. Let's talk about that because that was also kind of you don't think you're gonna get that from a shark movie. You know what I mean? If you're just
Yeah,
watching just based on the cover or the trailer. You know what I mean?
sure. Well, when I did work on the first movie, and I was writing the scenes that my character was in, I noticed that for a movie named Ouija Shark that had a Ouija board in it, yes, there was a Ouija board. Yes, it was a mystical shark. But I'm like, there's room here to bring in some more occult themes, considering, it's called Ouija Shark. Let's bring in some more occult themes. And then when I started writing the second one, I knew I wanted to go even more in that direction, because I love mashup movies. I love movies that combine, okay, it's a shark movie, but it's a superhero movie and it's an occult movie. And I think that gives me a better chance of making something that's fun that more people are going to enjoy.
Sure. That's cool. And, and it's also, I noticed, I don't know if I'm wrong, but it was like a family event because I noticed a Nicholas and Sabrina with the same last name as you.
Yeah, yeah,
So
they're
how did
both
that
my
come
kids.
about?
Well, partially it comes about just because you're a micro budget filmmaker and you're trying to make things cheap and you bring in family members. I mean, I always use family members, but in particular this time we filmed during COVID, and probably the first 6 months that I had for shooting, I couldn't leave my house, and neither could they. So so Nicholas is some of the apes that you see in the movie. I'm the rest of the apes you see in the movie. We have one ape suit here at Survival Zombie Films. So we had to put them all together in, the magical way.
I love
And
it.
but Nicholas is also, there are two guys that are fighting in the streets, and one has like a gator hat, one has a shark hat.
Sure.
He's the one with the gator hat as well.
That's epic.
Um, and I like that my daughter played my real daughter. My real
Sure.
daughter played my oh, it's so confusing. Anyway, my real daughter was the daughter in the movie as well, which
Sure.
was great. And my wife is the producer, so it definitely is a family event.
I like that. I think that's great. You know what I mean? Bring the whole family in. What would you say for you was your biggest challenge on the film?
Um, the limitations were rough because even when we could start seeing people, it was like, well, you can have one more person in your house. And I'm trying to shoot scenes that have three or four people in them together. And I'm using green screen to piece them together, and you have people doing a dance sequence that are all on the screen together that are all filmed separately. And you're trying to choreograph so that their moves match each other.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a little rough. That was
I can
probably the hardest
understand.
thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so I got to ask, the screener I saw was called Ouija Shark versus Tarot Gator.
Yes.
What made you guys change the title? I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I like the title too. That was my original shooting title, and I think the title change came mostly from just easier to market, easier to be able to send from one country to another without having to explain big changes in the title, and
Sure.
it just seemed to make the most sense.
I
But I
get it,
like that
man.
title.
I do. I think it's a hoot. I told my in-laws about it and they were laughing. They were like, Mike, you watch some funny movies.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's great, man. No, absolutely. So, also, what are your plans, let's say, for the future of this franchise? Do you see it going any further? You think any sneak peek for that?
I I definitely there's definitely been talk about a third one,
Sure,
and I definitely have some ideas around what I'd like to do. So um, I'm hoping that that gets going sooner than later.
sure.
Um, After finishing Ouija Shark 2, I started on another movie for Wild Eye that's like a paranormal dinosaur film,
Oh,
and that's finished and Wild Eye has it. So I'm hoping that they're going to release the title and the poster and all of that info soon.
ooh,
Now I'm working on a Bigfoot movie for them,
wow.
and I'm hoping maybe by the end of this year to be done with that, and then the slate is open again. So I guess we'll see what happens.
I'm not gonna lie, both of those sound great to me. I'll be watching for sure.
Thank you.
So I also noticed that you have some roots from trauma.
Yes.
I actually was in a trauma movie. Listen to this. Back in 1998, called Terror
Wow.
Firmer.
Yeah,
way
a
back in
great
the
one.
old days. I was like
It's a
14
great one.
years old.
I think that's a great one
I
for,
love
for
that
sure.
you had Lloyd Kaufman do a cameo. I thought that was
Yeah,
awesome.
Lloyd's fantastic and such like he so supports independent film and not just his own independent films, like lots of other people's independent films.
Right.
So that's great.
That's awesome, man. All right, so I got one more question. I also noticed that you kind of started your career as a zombie, working on a couple different films, and
Yeah,
you got to work with the late George Romero. What was
yeah.
that like, and how has that kind of influenced your career since then?
Well, with Romero, I got to be in Land of the Dead, but I was in some zombie eating scene under a bridge, so you can't see me very well, and all of his um, instructions kind of came over a bullhorn. So there wasn't a close thing there. But then I got to be in Survival of the Dead,
Right,
and um, that was amazing because I'm at the very end of the movie. One of the main characters gets torn in half and eaten, and
right.
I'm one of the zombies right in there ripping the guy to shreds. And after being a lifelong fan of Romero, to be in a scene like that, and it was fantastic. So that's the one funny thing I can tell you about Land of the Dead. We were in scenes with in water, and I had to wear a mask, and the mask was always full of water. And George took us all out and was telling us his ideas of the kind of things we should think of to be zombies. And I'm like, here it is. Here's the Romero's going to tell me how to be a zombie. This is going to be amazing. And I couldn't hear him because it was. I'm like, no.
So you had some words of wisdom, you just couldn't hear them. Oh, that's hysterical. Oh, that's great, dude. I love it.
So,
So, all right, cool, man. Listen, I really appreciate it. I am excited for the two things you got coming up. I can't wait to hear more about that. I'll be keeping my eye out for that, and I'll be spreading the word as much as I can for Ouija Shark too, man.
thank you so much. Yay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. Thank you.
No worries.